This NFL Picks Week 18 edition of the Sports Gambling Podcast is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with promo code SGPN. Score up to $1,000 in bonus cash. We're also brought to you by Rhythm, the leader in data-driven picks and props. Get your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM.
Cox.
He's one of those guys who will get penetration.
Welcome, everyone, to the Sports Gambling Podcast. I'm Sean, stacking the money green with my partner in picks, Ryan, Real Money Kramer. What's happening, Kramer?
I'm still in the garage, not to be confused with Rich Fat Baby's shed out there in Arizona. It's different situation.
So you're not in the shed. You're in a fancy garage in Florida.
Hold on. I haven't showed anyone this yet, yes. But we're actually dealing with I told people I'm on a fillet table.
Oh, wow. Yeah. You got the tiny little bar of soap. So
kind of hard to move it without knocking things over, but it's actually like a little table for filleting. It's got a little sink set up. It is the best I could do. Grind on.
Yeah, lot to get to. Week 18, Ryan. Can you believe it's already week 18? I'm stealing your bits left and right.
Like, can I maybe start a new bit? Sure. I can't remember a more obvious. I don't want to call it a more obvious. I know you and the gambling gods get upset, but is this not the least shine of a week 18 we've had in some years?
Least shine, meaning like smallest amount up for grabs, playoff wise?
Yeah, everything's been sorted. There's not a lot on the obviously we'll have our action out there, but as far as like meaningful games, I feel like we have an all-time low for week 18.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we got the number 1 seed in the NFC. We have AFC North is up for grabs. There's some minor playoff seeding around that, but yeah, I don't know. I think it comes and goes as far as, you know, what year, how many things are up for grabs. I don't know. It's not standing out to me as super locked up, but I mean the number 1 in the NFC is pretty huge.
It's like the only thing we really got, though. I guess that would be the argument. And I guess what I was angling at is maybe, Sean, we needed one more playoff team. Think about all the additional drama if that in the hunt graphic was one more deep. I mean, come on.
Right. We don't want to end up like college football, although shout out to, and we'll talk about it on our next college football picks episode. Shout out to Kim Scattaboo in Arizona State. Forks up, great run, almost hit. I mean, my God, Ryan, not only Arizona State money line, but that parlay I gave out of Illinois money line with Arizona State money line. My God, that was an incredible sweat. Didn't get home. And then Ohio State, I hit both my locks. That was a cakewalk against that fraudulent-ass Oregon team. And then, unfortunately, with the terror attacks, thoughts and prayers. That was a crazy story. Now, that game's Notre Dame, Georgia is being played next afternoon. But any college football takes, Ryan, before we get into professional football here?
No, it sucks that people are going to use this as the reason why things need to change. It's like, guys, this is the first iteration. What do we learn? Home games are important. Maybe this neutral round isn't giving much of an advantage to the higher seeded team. And yeah, figure it out perhaps. And don't give the top 4 seeds to the automatic bids. Other than that, it's been fine. We've had some blowouts. Guess what? The NFL has blowouts too. It's bound to happen. It's like so ridiculous listening to some of the. I guess my overarching take is the SEC fans have somehow gotten worse. This new playoff where they haven't been super successful has somehow brought us to a world where they're more obnoxious and their takes are more asinine. And you know what, Sean? Here's what sums up college football in 2024. Kirk Herbstreit getting community noted about Kirk Herbstreit saying that the haters are going to hate in regards to Alabama not being in the playoff. Basically, comment about Alabama. Guess they didn't deserve to be there because they lost to Michigan. Not a very good showing for Kalen DeBauer and the boys. Herbstreit says makes some comment to which Community Notes basically quotes him when he was picking apart the selection committee. So I don't know. I'm excited for the top four. I'm excited for the championship. I'm not going to stop watching. I'm very angry at college. I'm both agreeing.
Scadabu saved college football with his incredible touchdown. He had in 90 seconds, he had a touchdown throw, a touchdown run, and a 2-point conversion. The dude was just awesome. That was the highlight for me.
I'd say the highlight for me is just all these whiny, bitchy college football fans who are right this year. The playoff is kind of lame. They're kind of right this year, but also fuck off. You're being a baby. A lot of whiny bitch activity.
Kyle P. Ryan, Vikings fan, saying, holy shit, biggest game in NFL regular season history. I mean, it's 14-2 teams playing. Obviously, this is going to be the first time ever that a 14-win team will end up being a wild card, which is kind of a crazy break for whoever doesn't win the division. But 14-win teams playing, I don't know off the top of my head. I don't have they ever played. I don't know. I'm trying to remember a time, at least not in recent memory. And 14-win teams being in the same division, I'll have to do some research on that. But that is pretty crazy. So historic is certainly in that sense.
Well, like Dick Puncher has taught us, this is the greatest. The Packers are the greatest third place team in the history of the NFL. Yeah, I mean, if you want to just call it by wins, this is I'll if you want to compare. It's an anticipated game, I guess, but to say the biggest game in regular season history would involve some level of anticipation that I've not yet felt for this game. So, disagree.
Wow. I'm excited for it. I'm interested.
Well, I'm excited too. I'm not saying it's the biggest regular season game ever.
That's you're not a Vikings fan like Kyle P. Ryan, because the fact that the Vikings are 14 win team is crazy. I went through and I graded. We did the Westgate win total contest, Ryan, and I went through and I graded how I did on the sheet so far. There are actually 3 teams that are still. I'm 18-11 with 3 still outstanding. Now, there is one, the Colts. I think I ended up changing for our show, but when we put it in, I had the over at the Westgate. Unfortunately, I changed my mind on the show, but that was too late to put it in a Westgate. 18-11 right now. The Ravens, which I have at under, they're at 11 wins right now, 17.5-point favorites. Don't feel great about that. The Cardinals, Ryan, they're sitting at 7 wins. I had them on the over. I'm sure you did as well. Westgate had it as a 7. So that's a push right now. And then the other one is the Texans at 9.5. I had it as an over, and they're sitting at 9. So I have a chance. Cardinals is at least a push. I would be very lucky if the Ravens get as a push. Texans, I really could see going either way. So maybe I'll get to 20 wins. That would be pretty sweet there for the Westgate contest.
What was our prediction?
What was our prediction?
For the winner, 22, 23,
yeah,
24,
probably,
something like that?
Yeah, it's talking to Matt Humans over there on VSiN, and I think Wes Reynolds won with a 21 or 22. So maybe, knock on wood, probably missed by a couple there, but fun going through the win total. And I know
how do you not fire on that every year? That's a very easy.
It's a $200 contest. Highly recommend it. Gonna definitely run it back next year. Fun sweat there. Ryan, I don't know if you one of my Christmas gifts I got. Look at this.
No,
beautiful Saquon Barkley jersey. Saquon Barkley, of course, in the news everywhere. Everyone throwing their hot takes on whether or not the Eagles should rest Saquon Barkley or should go after him or should play him and let him go after Eric Dickerson's rushing record. This particular take got to me, and I thought was worth sharing on the show, courtesy of Raheem Palmer. The decision to sit Saquon Barkley and not go for the single season rushing record is everything that is wrong with sports in 2025. We've collectively made it to where nothing matters but championships, and it's ruining sports. It's anti-fan, anti-competitive, and anti-fun. I hope the Eagles lose in the first round. So Raheem, if you don't know him, he's on the Ringer Gambling Show. He's also a guy who grew up in Philadelphia, became a Cowboys fan. So I don't know what's going on with Raheem here, but I disagree with his take on so many levels. First off, he's saying like sports have become too much about championships. What are you talking about? Yes, winning the Super Bowl is the main thing. Let's keep the main thing the main thing. It's a team goal to try and win the Super Bowl, not just pad your stats and have win your fantasy football championship and have all these accolades. And yes, I think if Saquon was legitimately close to getting the record, they would put him out there. Hey, if he needed 20, 40 yards, he needs 101 yards to break Dickerson's record. Dickerson broke it in 14 games. Now, maybe he does it in less attempts. Yeah, it would have been a cool thing to do, but the Eagles are going to have a playoff game the following week. He's had 60 carries in the past 2 games. He's had a tremendous workload. The Eagles had their bye week after the 4th game in week 5. Now, what are you going to put Saquon Barkley out there and not put out the entire offensive line? So you're going to risk injuring Lane Johnson, Jordan Mailata, Cam Jurgens, Mekhi Becton, all these guys, Landon Dickerson, who have been nursing injuries the entire time just to have some meaningless rushing record. Yeah, it would be awesome for Saquon. I'm sure he would love to have his former team break the rushing record against his former team and shove it down their throat. But what are we talking about? They act like he's opting out of a bowl game. Like it's a regular season game. The Eagles won 13 games. They have the option now to rest their starters for the playoff game. What are we talking about? It's anti-competitive, anti-fun. It's a team sport. You're trying to do what you can to win the fucking Super Bowl, not set some records. What am I missing, Ryan?
Oh, and I have some notes here. Like not even kidding. I actually started crafting my own quote tee, but once I saw that you had already published something, I figured I wouldn't recreate the wheel here. But first of all, when you sent me this, the way that it's written to say that all that matters or nothing matters but championships, I thought it was a well-crafted joke. I thought it was a well-crafted engagement farming internet troll job. Like this is Wes Steinberg at his finest. Like this, I mean, I saw Coach Prime and Wes, by the way, going back and forth after he put out a fake Shitter Standards Giants.
Hold on, real quick. I want to.
I don't want to lose. Sorry, go ahead.
The chat. I just want to rebut a couple of the things the chat's saying. Anson saying he may never get this opportunity again, though. Anson, they're on a 13-win team. You might not get that opportunity again. And why did Saquon go from the Giants to the Eagles? Why was he so excited to get the T-shirt and the hat and win the NFC East? You might not have a chance to be on a team this good. 13-win seasons don't just fall from the sky like every other year. The Eagles have a legit shot to win the Super Bowl. You might not have that chance. Okay? Like that to me is a more important chance than breaking any sort of record.
So yeah, starting from a place where I thought this very much, I was okay. He's not a funny guy. This is actually serious. Let me continue on. Break the glass. I went on a complete tangent here because my take on, well, first of all, you're insane if you think Saquon Barkley gives a shit about this. And this is not a recency take. Go back to his time coming into the league. Going into his time during on the Giants, it was never really about personal accolade for Saquon Barkley. He wanted to do the right thing by the team, do the right thing by the team, do the right thing by the team. Even think about the contract negotiation shit with the Giants. A lot of that was over, kind of the idea that he wanted to retire a Giant. He saw value in that. He wanted to be loyal to the team. And so, first of all, coming from that perspective, it seems like you just don't watch ball. And it's disgusting that you are like a representative for a major sports betting brand. You're a representative for a major media brand, major sports media brand, and you clearly don't know shit about shit. Starting with the point where how can you be a Cowboys fan in Philadelphia? I would also say, continuing on with the you don't know ball, Raheem here, he reminds me of every parent I encounter on a youth sports sideline. And I think there's a lot of our audience that's going to relate to this. There are a lot of people on the sideline that hem and haw about their kid. They're all juiced up for game day. Everyone knows the guy. And they never, you know why they're excited for their kid out there? You know why they're screaming like a madman at the ref? Because they never got that feeling. They don't know what it feels like. I think Raheem here doesn't know what it feels like to win, doesn't know what it feels like to have personal accolades or any of that shit, because clearly his prioritization mechanism is me first, money first, personal goals first. So if he worked for me, Raheem, well, I would think about, is this guy a team player or is he just here for Raheem? That's
Raheem's looking out for Raheem, getting some great engagement.
Also, it's great engagement, but when you reply to your own great engagement farming troll job with, I'm going to mute this right now, I just wanted to see him break the record against his old team, you're a fucking loser. You're a fucking loser. Third, if you want to have a valid debate about competitive integrity and all of that shit, because none of us want the NFL to turn into the NBA, where load management turns into a valid reason to miss a fucking game. Well, then you have to talk about, are there requirements to playing guys? My personal opinion, I do think that there is an integrity of the game, but I also think that if you earn the right to rest key players for a more important situation, that's fine. The same thing I said last week when I said you don't go into a room full of grown-ass men and tell them, hey, guys, we're losing for the guys next year. Fuck you. So in this case, I guarantee it went like this. I bet you Nick Sirianni wanted him to go out there, but Saquon's like, no, I do not want to go out there. I guarantee Saquon had to make this decision for himself, and I guarantee he did make the decision for himself. So,
well, and it does seem like he came out initially. He was like, no, I don't care about the record. And then, like a couple of days later, I think his dad got to him and he was like, yeah, my dad was really bummed and it would have been cool. And I might not get the opportunity. And yeah, I was down to do it, but like he was backtracking his original statement a little bit, but if you recall earlier in the year, there was a mic'd up where Sirianni went to him, and I think it was either against the Giants or the Cowboys. He had a ton of rushing yards. He had a chance to set his personal record, and Sirianni said, hey, you're at like 180, whatever. Do you want to go for it? And he goes, no, let the young guys eat. So that to me, like, identifies his mindset. Yeah, it would be awesome to see someone break this record. Sure, it's cool. Records are fun, but so is winning the Super Bowl. Like, did you remember? Now, certainly a lot of that was pent up, and it was the Eagles' first Super Bowl. When the Eagles won the Super Bowl, the city was insane. They were like grown men weeping in the streets. Like, people are visiting their, parents' gravesite to like leave keepsakes about what this Super Bowl meant to this city and this franchise. Like, a Super Bowl is the goal. And you could make a decent, if you wanted to make a case, rest versus rust, sure, we could have that debate all, the entire show, right? Because, hey, the Lions, they're going for it. They're going after it. They don't care. Sam Laporta got hurt last year. Did it hurt their chances? Maybe in the NFC conference game, did they eventually maybe hit a little wall? Maybe not. Maybe that momentum helped carry them. Like, I think you can debate the rest versus rust all you want. But for me, a guy who had 60 carries in the past 2 games, a guy who's had a tremendous amount of touches, as you and your buddy Terrell, you guys were celebrating the fact of how many touches he had, and that you were hoping he would get to 400, and then I would have to predict injury on Saquon.
reporting the news, Sean. First of all, second of all,
I'm
that's
saying
the
it's
one.
a shit ton of touches. Like and all they haven't had a break in 17 or whatever how many weeks. Like I have no problem with them taking resting some of the key starters here. If Dan Campbell wants to attack it a different way, sure, I get it. And hey, that's been working for them. But there are consequences. Last year, week 18, they had a very small chance of maybe winning the division if the Cowboys ended up losing to the Redskins, and then they played some of their starters. And look, AJ Brown got hurt, and they couldn't use him in the playoff game. And that not having AJ Brown for this Eagles offense is a huge deal. What am I missing?
I mean, again, I think the Dan Campbell thing is a different. It's a slightly different conversation. Because you could point to the fact that the Lions have a lot of injuries, but I think there is something to coaching a certain way and consistency around how you coach. I do think the idea of like, oh, well, we're going to pull back in this situation, or if this happens, we're going to do this. Honestly, that is generally how people get hurt. You go into and I hate to continually layer on coaching experience from the youth sports streets, but when you go into a situation confident and your team knows they're better than the team they're playing, when your team knows they're going to get a bunch of rest because this game doesn't matter, that's when someone actually gets hurt. So I would say that, in some ways, if you're going to rest people, do it all the way. Don't do this bullshit where you're like, oh yeah, they're going to start a couple drives. Now, personally, if I was a coach, I think when I'm looking at a scenario where I have a team that hasn't accomplished shit, I'm not resting, period. Like that's really the only team where I'd be good resting in this situation is the Chiefs, because I know they can turn the switch back on. There's not another team in the league where I've seen them turn the switch back on. And then specifically, if I was going to throw a devil's advocate argument back at you, I would say, well, they kind of have been pushing Barkley extremely hard down the stretch here. And so the record doesn't matter to say. That's why I said I think the record mattered to the team. And I think there was his usage last week.
Too, also they were playing without Jalen Hurts for the majority of the Washington game, and then for the game last week against Dallas. So and also they wanted to get him to 2,000. They got him to 2,000. He got 2,000 yards in a 16-yard season. I mean,
but that's the part where you lose me a little bit, because it's like, okay, it's not about this record, it's about that record. He didn't need 31 carries in the last game if you're worried about his touches. He is going to absolutely go over 400 touches unless you guys get bounced in the first round. And he doesn't. I think he only needs 25 touches or something like that. So he's going to reach a level he's never seen before. He's going to reach a level not many running backs have seen before, and certainly not many running backs have continued to play well afterwards. But all of that being said, again, I would probably not make the choice to rest unless I was the Chiefs. But I don't generally have. My issue is generally when people make a fuss about it. I mean, if you want to bring it all the way back, like, really, you guys want to see what you had in Sudfeld? Like, don't make up a bullshit narrative. We're resting our guys because we can rest our guys. We don't give a shit about this game because we're out of the playoffs and we're going to see some fucking rookies. Okay. I think too often there's a game played with it. And I think that's a fair argument to pick apart. Now, if we're looping all the way back to Raheem.
Well, and I see the chat saying, why play him against Dallas? Because they needed to beat Dallas to win the division. Like that, to me, that's why you played him.
Again, you play him against Dallas to win the division.
Yes.
But you run him 31 times to get just over 2,000 yards because you want a superficial note or asterisk on the season.
And I think it's a fine line. Like, could they have maybe pulled him out of the game at like 25 carries? Sure. But I think if it's a few carries, that's one thing. If he was close, they probably would put him in for the record. But he needs 101 yards. And I'm sure if the Giants would just load up the box and try and injure him, and because they don't want to be embarrassed by having this meaningless game turn into this Saquon record thing. So I think it would turn into a huge distraction. I don't think it would necessarily be a huge morale win for the Eagles. And yeah, I think Nick Sirianni is doing the right thing by resting. All right.
And I think we should, as an audience to the Sports Gambling Podcast, we should lay off of Sean's predictions for the 2025 season because he won't make those until the offseason. So let's not ask Sean if he's going to predict injury.
We're retiring from fantasy football as a network, Ryan. So I don't know if I'll be making any fantasy football predictions. So great reminder and great way out. All right. We got a lot of games to get to. And, of course, head over to mybookie.ag. Use the promo code SGPN. Get the 100% deposit match up to $1,000. If you're not on mybookie.ag, what are you waiting for? mybookie.ag. Promo code SGPN. Easy deposit. Get the 100% match up to $1,000. Terms and conditions apply. Get the early cash out if you want. You don't want that early cash out. Faster bet settlement. Super easy deposit and withdrawals with that sweet cryptocurrency. Again, terms and conditions apply on the deposit match, but it's 100% up to $1,000. Promo code SGPN. mybookie.ag. Promo code SGPN. All right. Lot to get to. We got Maximus in the chat saying, I'm wondering what the week 18 flow chart is for teams that don't give a shit. So the one angle is, or the one trend that I stumbled upon here is teams that need it versus teams that don't. The teams that don't need it, 60% ATS. And there's 3 spots that have that situation. You got the Panthers at the Falcons. You got the Saints at the Bucks. And you got the Dolphins at the Jets. So all kind of instinctively, you would not want to be attracted to the the team that doesn't need it. But again, those are kind of the spots historically, if you want to look at that kind of situation. But I'm sure we'll get into these. Ryan, what do we got here? What are we doing?
Well, and I was going to say, even beyond that, I feel like, and maybe this year is just a little bit different, but because so much of this year is muddled in nonsense, I also kind of I almost want to ignore, like, for some of these games, we're just not even going to talk about what's even happened last week or this season because I don't know if it matters.
And Evan Pop in the chat saying, is this a week to throw out a bunch of DGen parlays? Yeah, I mean,
I'm a degenerate.
Especially with hopefully we're able to do a props episode, but I think there's a lot of like interesting prop opportunities. I'm sure the numbers will be late because they don't want to get exposed. But if you have some like good backup angles, certainly quarterbacks like Carson Wentz, Tyler Huntley, these guys that are playing for their lives. Them getting rushing touchdowns is always intriguing. And then even some of these backup receivers, running backs, Will Shipley on the Eagles, I think is interesting in some prop stuff. So I think there is a lot of interesting prop stuff. It'll just be when does it pop? I'm sure Dick Puncher's talking about Mike Evans. He has a bunch of incentive stuff on top of the fact that they need this game to win the division to get into the playoffs. So yeah, we'll kind of note some of those, and I have some of the incentive stuff up. Let's get into it because we got 2 Saturdays.
Do you think, Sean, we will have prop? Do you think we'll have widely open prop markets for before Friday morning?
I don't know. I could see. I think it could be like a game by game thing, right? Because I think like the games where it's the motivation is obvious, a la Detroit, Minnesota. I think they'll have prop stuff up for teams where it's obvious both teams need it. The issue is games like the Bills Patriots, where the Bills don't need it. The Pats obviously have been eliminated from the playoffs. They're being real coy with whether or not they're going to play Drake May. Gerard Mayo's like, hey, if he's healthy, he's playing, but he keeps reminding them by saying if he's healthy. Obviously, Pats don't want to win the game as an organization, but I'm sure Drake May wants to beat the Bills. So, yeah, like I feel like those games might be pretty late to open. But something like Detroit, Minnesota, I would imagine they're probably less scared to hang a number on that. Like I'm already seeing Jared Goff props up.
I was going to say, we're just going to be giving out props from games that matter, not the fun games that the chat's alluding to. The good stuff is going to be in the game. I mean, basically, we're going to be betting on a bunch of third string quarterback rushing totals this week. All right.
Yes.
Let's get to it. I also, for the record, if you don't remember last year, we made a determination that with the additional playoff team, the close your eyes special has to be zapped in week 18. It doesn't make any sense for these teams sliding down the slippery hill. So we won't have any of those this week either. No Thursday night football this week, as the Prime crew reminded you by putting Ryan Fitzpatrick and Sherm in a ice bath together. They'll see you again on playoff weekend. We got playoff football on Prime, but not this week on Thursday night. We go to Saturday, which Sean, I don't know if you've dove into the speculation as to why these teams are playing on Saturday, but basically we're getting the AFC North teams playing all on Saturday, 1:30 p.m. here on the West Coast for the first game. Cleveland, Baltimore, Ravens, of course, coming off extended rest from a complete thumping. Boy, was I right on that one, Sean. Against the Houston Texans. They're now laying 17.5 against the Cleveland team that has recently reworked Deshaun Watson's contract so he can be the starting quarterback in 2025. Minus 1,700 on the money line. Cleveland plus 1,080. 41 is the total. I don't know. DTR really does not look like a very good NFL quarterback. Snoop Huntley looked like a much better. I was watching this with family, and as we know, there were only 2 games on at the time, and I mean, Snoop Huntley looked like a guy that at least you can entertain on an NFL roster in the next couple of years. DTR is cooked, and they're starting him, so I don't quite understand.
Yeah, I mean,
17.5. Jesus.
No, it's this. This is week 18 because my first note is DTR is unbettable as the big takeaway. But then you look at some of the numbers. Oh, you got Lamar Jackson. Home divisional games, right? 15 home divisional games. What do you think his ATS record is?
It's bad. He's horrible as a favorite in these games. Like, it's just you can't.
Favorite. Yeah. And this is weird that the NFL did this, right? Because obviously, Steelers. So if you don't know the playoff scenario, Steelers, they can win the AFC North if the Browns beat the Ravens and the Steelers win. So normally they would play these games at the same time. I guess the NFL just said, screw it. Because I think this is obviously the NFL telling us that Super Wildcard Weekend, one of the games, the earliest game is going to be the AFC North game. That's why they're both playing the Steelers and the Ravens on this game, I would imagine, right? Because they want them to play on Saturday again. That would be the only reason they would do this on a Saturday, at least in my mind.
I think they're also, I mean, I think they've made a mistake, but I think if I'm backing into it, I think they think that they're not altering any sort of competitive balance here by having the Steelers go after the Ravens. So Ravens win. Basically, this is more of like a bang. This kind of can help the Bengals. Am I right? When the Ravens win the first game.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because if the Ravens win the game, the Steelers have been eliminated from AFC North. They don't have a chance to win the division. Now they still have something to play for, that 5 or 6 seed versus the Chargers. Now, I don't know how much they care about that. I imagine they're still it's an AFC North game. I don't know. Maybe they do pull some of their starters depending on how they feel about it, or like maybe they don't go all out in that spot. I don't know. I still think you would want to play for the 5 seed in the AFC playoff because you want to match up against the Houston Texans, right? So I think that's pretty appetizing as a team. So I think they would still play 100% there given that. So, but getting back to this game with the Ravens. Yeah, I mean, Justice Hill is an interesting. He needs 117 receiving yards for 250K or 8 receptions for 250,000. So maybe Justice Hill gets some check down garbage stuff. Never like the Cleveland defense on the road. But I don't know, man. 17.5 is too crazy. I'm going to take the Browns, getting the 17.5. I get why you could take the Ravens. I understand the appeal, but this is a division game. We see these all the time in week 18. They put these division games at week 18 just in case there's like a, division on the line, try and make things extra interesting. I think Browns emptied the kitchen, and I think 17.5 is crazy. And Myles Garrett is tied for the NFL sack leader with Trey Hendrickson. So I think there is a little extra motivation for him. I don't know if he has any money tied to leading the league in sacks, but I'm sure that's a point of pride for him. So I will take the Browns in getting 17.5 points.
All those contracts tend to have the extreme escalator stuff. So I'm sure a guy like Garrett has all sorts of award and top of the league bonuses. You have to take the points. I think you also, to your earlier point, in any sort of scenario where a team needs it versus a team that doesn't, I'm just taking the team that doesn't. Even in this case where they would have covered this number last week for what it's worth, as horrible as they looked.
And need it, meaning need the win to get into the playoffs. To clarify that trend that I had pulled earlier.
So I'm expanding on that.
Yeah,
I'm expanding on it to purely if I think you're playing to win the game, I'm fading you this week.
Yeah,
right.
17.5 is crazy.
So game number 2, again, I think they've made a mistake here because you've obviously created a path where you can, in theory, allow Cincy to have an easier path and thus affect the Broncos' true ability to get into even though there's some shenanigans going on with that game we'll get to later. 5 p.m. on the West Coast, Bengals, Steelers also coming off that extended rest. Bengals continue to, again, if they could only win a couple games early in the season, they wouldn't have this silly. It's like, I get it. Joe Burrow's awesome. This team going on this run, but we have to give him some accountability for the early season stuff. I know this year it's all about the defense, but you got to win some of these early games, Joe. Minus maybe he's out on on LinkedIn looking at resumes for personal assistants all through the night.
Yeah, you got to get the Gatling gun recharged for the old Batmobile. How do you have time to like? Does he take that to Jiffy Lube? There's not. I don't imagine there's a lot of mechanics in Cincinnati who are familiar with servicing the Batmobile. Like, where does he take that thing?
Oh, it sounds like someone tried to take it for him when they showed up to his house during that Monday Night Football game.
I want a photo of you taking the Batmobile to Skyline Chili and just showing up there, like revving in the parking lot. Like, oh man. So what are we doing here, Ryan? Bengals, Steelers.
Bengals minus 1.5, minus 118 on the money line. Steelers plus 148 is the total. So in theory, the Steelers won't need this game because the Ravens are going to win, not cover against the Browns. So,
but again, I think they still kind of need it because I think getting that 5 seed and not having to play, one of the top 3 seeds, or that's the other thing because almost if they lose, they would play the Ravens. The Steelers would play the Ravens again, and they might kind of welcome that. But I still feel like if you're in the AFC, you want to play the Houston Texans. So playing for the 5 seed, I think, would be decent motivation. No,
for Tomlin, it's probably playing to knock your division rival out of the playoffs. Like to me, that's the biggest source of motivation. That's why I think, regardless of what happens in the first game. And just seems to be where we're Pittsburgh as a dog here in a spot where they might, people might be talking about like, hey, they lost the division. Maybe they don't need to go balls out. Also, it just seems like it's Tomlin. They're going to finish the season. What are we talking about here? They're a home dog, right? Are we dumb to do it one more time?
No, well, Maximus, I see in the chat saying the Steelers team feels so dead. And I understand that sentiment, but let's say you were a Steelers backer, you had a bunch of Steelers futures. I think you could talk yourself into the idea of like, yeah, they're not maybe the best team in the AFC, but also they played three of the toughest teams, arguably in the NFL in an 11 game span, right? Like that was really a brutal stretch there for the Steelers. Now, certainly they didn't play well, but you're playing the Chiefs on Christmas Day after 4 days rest to a Saturday game in Baltimore, which, Ravens getting revenge in that division totally makes sense. And then you lose to the Eagles at home and you play the Ravens on short rest. Then you have you play the Chiefs, Eagles and Ravens on the road, Chiefs at home on Christmas Day, all within a 11 game span. Now you're at home. You're playing on extended rest. Tomlin's great on extended rest. The Bengals right tackle is out. So you got Highsmith and TJ Watt just licking their chops, ready to light up this Bengals team and really put them end their season. That to me is a very, very tempting offer. And the Steelers offense, they looked awesome against the Bengals defense. They put up 44 points against them. And the Steelers have kind of had the Bengals number. Also, Mike Tomlin, Ryan, this is a great trend I stumbled upon. 14-2 ATS after losing by 20 points or more. So Tomlin loses by 20. That's your own close your eyes special. 14-2 ATS. Of course, I'm going to be on the Steelers as a home dog. What are you doing, Kramer?
Worth noting the Bengals catching almost 80% of the bets, but only 50% of the handles. So, look, I think the counter argument, the long rest here versus. I mean, honestly, this Bengals team. At what point do the injuries mount up? At what point does the offense, have a little bit of a hiccup? If the offense is going to have a hiccup, could you see him having that hiccup against a team like the Steelers? There's just a bunch of reasons why I can talk my way into this, and then of course I'm going to love it as a teaser leg. I mean, plus 7.5, Mike Tomlin at home. Joe Burrow needed some magic to cover a number last week, not this week. All right.
Yeah, there's nothing like sweating out a Broncos money line on a Carnival cruise line in the sports bar. I mean, that was to the Broncos to get it to overtime and then just to not get the cover there. Oh God, that was brutal. So we're both on the Steelers, right?
Both on the Steelers. Shocking development. The show is on the Steelers. Sunday morning, 10 a.m. window. We got 8 games. A lot of them have very little meaning in terms of playoff football. A lot of the teams that won't be playing in the postseason. One of them, the New Orleans Saints, is taking on the Tampa Bay Bucks. Bucks need it all the way, Sean. Laying 13, minus 900 on the money line. Saints plus 625. 43.5 is the total. Oh, okay. So I said I'm fading all the needed teams, and I know the Bucks need it. Is it possible that Darren Rizzi and this team are just completely rotten? Is that 13 points might not be enough. It might not be enough for this offensive group.
No, I mean, this is what's so hilarious, right? Like you see these trends of hey, okay, they need it, they don't. All right, you got to take the team that doesn't need it, but then you look at this team that doesn't need it, and you're thinking, how can I back this Saints team with Spencer Rattler on the road against a Tampa Bay team that's, man, they've really looked really good at times. I don't know. I still don't know how they messed up that game against Dallas. Like, how did they lose to that Cowboys team? I'm still couldn't really make sense of that. But their offenses looked really good. Defense creates some turnovers. I mean, the Todd Bowles defense versus Spencer Rattler. How is that not just a spot, right? And you have all the Mike Evans incentives. He's going to be involved. I don't think anyone on the Saints defense can slow them down. How do we not take the Tampa Bay Bucks? I mean, again, it is 13 points. It is a lot of pressure on the Bucks. Saints are playing with nothing to lose. Are you pulling the trigger on the Bucks laying 13, right?
And one other note on the Mike Evans front.
Yeah.
Latimer, no longer a member of the Saints, which, that was his kryptonite right there. That was what made this matchup not so good for him. Look, historically, he's struggled 2 catches, 3 catches, 3 catches, 4 catches, 3 catches, 1 catch, 2, 4, 1, 4. I mean, he has been shut down in his career against this team, and the guy who did it mostly is gone. I am very intrigued for the Mike Evans. It's going to be such a donkey spot, but I'm in it. And I would go a step further. This the Saints team is on. I mean, all these Italian guys getting whacked because Darren Rizzi, not him. That was a fun couple week stretch there. If you get beat by late season Antonio Pierce, you're off my island. Give me the Bucs.
How'd they lose to the Raiders by 15 points? How, right?
Baker is and also Baker's feeling extra spicy dangerous right now. He changed the security code. It's no longer 1, 2, 3, 4. And yeah, I think could be having some anal situations in the household. So I'm laying the points. 13. This one's going to be what is going to happen in this game to fuck us? Is it going to be like Baker multiple pick sixes? Something inexplicable is going to happen.
Yeah, I'll take the Bucs, but and also too, favorites have just been so good this year. It's been crazy. Like the run, I mean, we mentioned it. Like in the beginning part of the year, double-digit dogs were winning outright, and it was kind of crazy. And then the second half of the year, I mean, last week was a great example. Favorites are 15-1 straight up. It's crazy. I could not remember like the second half of this year, not only straight up, but just ATS. I feel like they've been incredibly strong. It's crazy.
Yeah. The Bucs are they're sore. They're hurt.
No need to get cute. Just take the Bucs minus 13.
Bucs have to sleep on their back. Buffalo, New England. You mentioned this earlier, Sean. Game number 2 in the early window. Again, 8 games. God's eye will be pleased. Buffalo, New England. Neither team needs it. New England, the NBA crowd would tell you they should lose this game. It's better for their draft situation. -2.5, -140 on the money line. Patriots +120. 38 is the total. I've been doing a lot of family stuff this week, but I was reading through the Patriots beat reporter list that I have, and you mentioned the Joe Milton thing. So when I first saw mention of Joe Milton, I was like, oh, okay, well, the Patriots are just openly trying to get the first pick. They're going to play Milton. He famously can throw the ball a mile. It's going to be exciting for the crowd. But then it turns out that Drake May maybe got injured, like you mentioned.
He did get knocked out of the game, and
he came back in.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like he does. It's not like they're making up an injury out of nowhere. Like he does have some sort of injury going on.
He when he came back from the concussion, I was watching with my dad. And he goes, "Oh, I thought they had to get tested." I'm like, "No. It's almost playoff time. They're getting the playoff protocol ready, which is there is no protocol." Anyway, the situation here is basically, why Buffalo would, in some ways, Buffalo is a team that I would like to see them play their starters. They have not accomplished shit in the postseason. They're not going to have a bye week. And I know they've looked great, but cool. You've been great at kicking the shit out of bad teams. Just go do it. Just go beat the shit out of them. Get a half off. That's how you get rest. You listen to some of the old timers talk. Go out and beat the shit out of them. Get a half a rest. I wouldn't rest if I was the Bills personally. I don't think this team has earned the idea that they can just flip the switch. And that's kind of, it's a simple take. So
no, but they have
the Patriots here.
They have played their starters in these meaningless games, and I don't know if and they play their starters a bunch of preseason. Again, I don't know if there's an exact right answer on resting. I would rest if I was the Bills, I would rest them 100%. No, and if anything, you want the Patriots winning and not getting the first overall pick. Not that you're really that worried about the Patriots, but yeah, I think if you're the Bills, you don't have a bye week. You're a veteran team that has played a bunch of games. I would want them getting a bye week. Josh Allen, I want Josh Allen lowering his shoulder in the playoffs. I don't want him doing it week 18 in a meaningless game against the Pats. Now, according to Sean McDermott, they are going to start their starters, and he said how long they play, he doesn't know. So good luck handicapping this game. I don't know. The fact that they're discussing not playing Drake May means to me this is a total tank job. I think even with Mitch Trubisky in there, he's looked decent in these kind of preseason S-type games. I'm going to take the Bills laying the 2.5, although I wouldn't. It would be very funny if the Patriots win the game, but I think the Bills get it done. So give me the Bills laying the 2.5.
Yeah, I mean, I this is the exact scenario I hate. Like, what are you doing, McDermott? You don't know how long they're going to play? Well, you're the head coach. He's just, he's probably sitting back there in his meeting room all by himself. Like, all right, this is going to be like a great sleeper cell. Never know when it happens, but we're going to take him out. I mean, come on, give me the Patriots. I gave a whole ramble on how I'm going to be on this situation, so I have to be on this situation. Joe Milton throws it. There's no roof in the building where they're playing. Otherwise, he'd be hitting the roof with that ball. Bears, Packers, game number 3. Bears coming off the Thursday night game that we predicted perfectly on this show, and yet we didn't bet no touchdown. I said it was going to be a bullshit 3-point game and gross, and it was gross and a 3-point game. Now the Bears are catching 10 points, plus 380 on the money line. 41 is the total against the Packers. I believe the Packers situation is they can only end up 6 or 7. I'd imagine they'd want to end up 6 and not 7. But
they're running scared from the Eagles, so they want to. That's why they're playing their starters so they can get that 6 seed. Now for them to get the 6 seed, they need to win and have Washington lose to get the 6 seed. So no one wants to face the Philadelphia Eagles. Dick Puncher saying Bears have given up. The Packers looking to make a statement heading into the playoffs after the letdown versus Minnesota. This one, I mean, the what's making this tough is the spread is 10 points. That is a tremendous number for a Bears team with like nothing. Yeah, what are you doing here, Ryan?
When's the last time a Bears Packers spread was this big?
That's also true. Caleb Williams chasing history. He's been sacked 67 times. 4th most ever since sacks were recorded in 1982. So he's only 9 behind David Carr, the season that supposedly broke David Carr. He's nipping at his heels, Ryan. Historic season.
Perhaps he's getting broken. It looks like there was a game in 2021. Bears were a 470 dog. And then the next game in 2022 to open the season, they were a 370 dog. So not that long ago.
Bears have put up 45 points in the 4 games in the post Matt Eberflus era. So not a great start to Brown and his Thomas Brown and his coaching acumen for the Bears offense. Remember, like early on, they're like, yeah, I mean, the Bears offense looks better with him as OC. Maybe he's going to be the interim head coach. This is also a great nugget. The Bears haven't won on the road on a Sunday in 3 full calendar years, 20 straight games. The last quarterback to win a road game on Sunday for the Bears, Ryan, do you know who it is?
Jay Cutler?
Nick Foles.
This seemed like a simple handicap. Packers need something. Bears need nothing. Bears, give me the points. You know what? You circle this one too as a money line potential, Sean.
It is the Bears Super Bowl, so I will take Chicago plus 10 as well. This is a massive get up spot for them in a division game where they have some talent, and I think Green Bay might be a little in their own head. And the defense, the Chicago defense, say what you will, the Chicago defense has been playing decent. It's just their offense has been terrible. But 10 points is a lot. I'll take it.
Wait, so if Washington and Green Bay both win, Green Bay 7, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Washington's going to be up early and often in that game. Interesting. All right.
Oh, so you're saying because Washington is playing the same time as Green Bay, so maybe there's some scoreboard watching. Maybe they do pull their starters if they're, I don't know if they have it locked up. I think they would. I think they would play for the 6. I think they would rather.
Why wouldn't you want this position though? Just in terms of like, why would you want to get in on a Packers position right now? It feels like the Packers position is only going to get better as we get closer to kick or even in game. Like as the closer we get to the Washington Redskins having the ball on offense, the price will get better for the Pack. Yeah, give me the Bears. This is a great play by us. We're really talking it out here. Game 4, Jacksonville, Indy, to open the season, to close the season. Whatever. It's always a great matchup here in the AFC South. Colts -5, -225 in the money line. Jags +195. 45 is the total. The flow chart did us right last week as the Titans once again lost to the Jags. Only win in that rivalry will happen to be a game where, guess what? The team that didn't need it won the game, knocked someone out of the playoffs. In this one, neither team needs it. Although some would argue that again, I'll ask the question, Sean. Doug Peterson, Shane Steichen, better chance to be coaching their team next year.
Shane Steichen. But yeah, I mean, who knows with Ursley, as Colby likes to call him. I mean, Jim
Steichen deserves the job.
It's tough. I mean, did he do a great job this year? No, but then, you could make a pretty easy case. Anthony Richardson wasn't healthy for a big portion of the season. That probably stunted his development. I mean, maybe Anthony Richardson isn't the right quarterback. How much of that is on Shane Steichen? And they did lose to the Giants, so that obviously looks really bad. I mean, you're playing with Joe Flacco, who's I still don't know what happened to the Colts defense last week against Drew Lock. I mean, what was your take, Ryan? Just Drew Lock is unstoppable?
I mean, it's not the first time we've seen Drew Lock go off before signing a new contract. I would say as somewhat, I mean, again, you were calling the Giants dead. To lose to a dead team the way that they lost to a dead team, to allow the Giants offense to put up that kind of performance.
Yeah.
Now, granted, Malik Neighbors is good. 2 of those plays, he caught a short pass and made some dudes miss, and I get it. But that team, you want to talk about a team that quit on a coach. That's what I saw. And I think the way that vets talk about, I mean, I don't know if you saw Pat McAfee wrote an essay about why the Colts suck now and how he's not renewing his season tickets. But to basically the way the vets have honed in on the idea that you have a locker room, you have a coaching staff that allowed a quarterback to tap out of a game. Like, that is fucked up.
Dear Indianapolis Colts, this is Patrick McAfee. The product that I'm seeing on the field is not worthy of the me getting season tickets from Jim Irsay. You guys got to try harder. Pat out. Huh. I was at a bar watching the Rose Bowl in Pasadena. It was fun. Kind of like scoped out the Rose Bowl for a little bit and then just walked to a bar and watched the game. And they had the simulcast audio of Pat McAfee, his broadcast. And I think someone went to the bartender and were like, "Can you turn that audio off?" I guess it was. Kudos to Pat, but the standard.
But yeah, to answer your question, embarrassing. You lost to a team that had nothing to play for. You probably. I mean, if you're gonna critique a coach and quit and all that stuff, as much as you want to clown a guy like Antonio Pierce, there is still something to the ability of albeit frustrating if you're a fan, to get motivation out of a group of men in a situation where it would be very hard to motivate them. Shane Steichen did the opposite of that. And so you zoom in on that. You zoom in on the idea that his starting quarterback is pulling himself out of the game. You zoom in on the fact they just got their ass kicked. This is, by the way, a Joe Flacco legacy game, Sean. We have no guarantees he's in the league next year.
No.
It could be a ball.
I mean, to me, my first instinct was Jags in the 5 points, right? Because they are playing for WP. The problem is their defense is so bad. Could I see them just handing it off to Jonathan Taylor 25 times? Jonathan Taylor just running all over this dog shit Jags defense, and it not making a difference that the Jags are getting 5 points, and that the Maxonville Jaguars, aka Mac Jones, with this who has the same amount of wins as Trevor Lawrence this season. I could see that. I could see the Colts, who got embarrassed by the Giants. Now they're at home. They got McAfee calling them out. I could see in a weird way this turning into a get-up spot for the Colts. I still got to take the points, though. Joe Flacco's looked rough at times. Although I love a lot of the overs. I'm not a totals guy, but 45 feels way too low for this game. But I'll take the Jags +5. What are you doing, Ryan?
How many times have the Jags won in Indy since 2013?
2.
2 is correct. One was last year. So we're also working off a little bit of a home revenge angle. I think it's not. I think it's going to sound silly, but McAfee writing an essay, he wrote a lot of words. I think that resonated with this ownership. At least it's embarrassing, very embarrassing to be put out on blast like that as an organization. If you're Jim Irsay, you weren't happy about it. And I think if I'm Shane Steichen, I'm coaching for my job in this game. Give me the Colts.
But does that help? Because Shane Steichen coaching for his job, does that help? Or do you like the laid back styles of Dougie P, who's thinking about ice cream and playing with house money? I see the case for the Colts, like the embarrassment getting up for a final home game makes sense. I just don't know if this team has much fight. I'll stick with the Jags.
I think if the defense can be well motivated against Mac Jones, I feel great about this, because you're right to be a little scared of the number. But if we look at that same sample of data, only 2 of those losses become losses to the number. So it's not exactly like the Colts have been keeping these games close. I'm laying it. I think it's going to be a blowout. I think the end of the Doug Peterson era ends in glorious Mac Jones double pick six fashion. That will be an anytime touchdown I will be on this week. Carolina, Atlanta, another NFC South matchup. Both South divisions electric as always this year. Panthers +8, +300 on the money line. 48 is the total. Falcons, of course, they need this game like they need blood now. Well, the scenario basically, they need the Bucs to lose, right?
Yeah, they need the Bucs to lose, and they need to win, and then they win the division.
So they're, again, the way Baker's feeling, there are scenarios here where the Bucs are up big early. Then what? I know that the general consensus on Penix so far is I've seen a lot of comments about how he looks mature out there. Okay. I still don't know.
What is your you seem to have a beef with Michael Penix?
I haven't seen it. I've seen things from Bo Nix, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, and Caleb Williams that all are like pop. They have pop plays. They have pop moments. They have pop, like for Bo Nix, for example, the way that he has clearly become a leader on that team. I'm impressed. Yeah. I'm impressed at how he's operating the system. Drake May has made some physical plays that reminded me of seeing early Josh Allen. Jaden Daniels, easy. Just watch. And Caleb Williams, there are throws he makes that are like he's the only guy that might be able to make that throw outside of maybe one or two dudes. So I've seen none of that from Michael Penix so far. That's.
Oh, I just think it's so early on Penix, and
of course.
I think he looked good against the Commanders. And if it wasn't for Raheem Morris's dumbass lack of wanting to call a timeout, everyone on the internet already did their rant on Raheem Morris not using the timeouts. But I mean, to go into Washington and put your team in a position to win, I think is something big there. Very small sample size, but I thought he's made some decent throws there. I don't have a strong take on Michael Penix so far. I just don't understand being totally out on the guy yet.
I'm not. What I'm commenting on is I think it feels like people are going out of their way to like say nice things about him. And I don't quite understand that yet. He's been okay. But I haven't seen him exhibit any like attributes that would get me excited. And in this game, I have no fucking clue what to do. Because on one hand, like I said, I think there could be an interesting dynamic where, of course, I think the Bucs are going to be rolling. And so what do the Falcons look like if they see the scoreboard at halftime? And the Bucs are up 17 points. And then meanwhile, what do we got with this Panthers team? Because they were cute for like 2 weeks. And it was like Bryce Young was back. And then he got hit in that Cowboys game and fumbled the ball, and it was like
he looked really small.
It's like when you have the mushroom in Mario, and then you get hit and you go back to being small. Bryce Young went back to being small. Chuba Hubbard, who was basically like the lifeblood of this team, not being out there, that mattered a lot. Shout out to the pregame show last week. That we missed you, Sean, but we had some friends on the program, and we were talking about this one. CJ, of course, had a Panthers take, but I think it's almost a you can't play them without Chuba Hubbard kind of team, right?
Yeah, I guess the counter is Atlanta needs this. Who is Atlanta to be laying 8 points in a division game?
Well, you're right. I almost went against my own trend.
JC Horn is out. That hurts the Panthers defense. I think a guy like Adam Thielen in a dome could carve up this Falcons secondary. It's weird how the Falcons are super bad at pass rush and have been good. They're fourth in defensive EPA since week 12, which has been crazy. But yeah, I'll just go back to the teams that are going, playing to avoid getting eliminated versus teams that have nothing to play for. You throw in the division angle and 8 points. I'm not as, I don't know. You seem to be anti Michael Penix. I'm indifferent to him, but I don't think he should be an 8-point favorite, even against the Panthers. So I will take the Panthers +8. Kramer, what are you doing here?
If I was making my, go forward rankings of quarterbacks from this draft class, he would be behind Bo Nix.
Well, yeah, I mean, Bo Nix is the best quarterback in this.
I'm saying he would be behind the four.
All the quarterbacks are behind Bo Nix, right?
That's all. That is not true.
Who do you?
I guess
real quick, who is your quarterback rankings?
Go forward quarterback rankings for this class. Jaden Daniels. I'll get roasted for this. Jaden Daniels, Drake May, Bo Nix, Caleb Williams, Michael Penix.
Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels, Drake May. And then Michael Penix. But I mean, Michael Penix to me is still an incomplete because
ahead of Caleb Williams.
What? No, Caleb Williams. Did I not say Caleb Williams?
No.
Okay, so Drake May. No, sorry. Bo Nix.
Yes.
Jaden Daniels.
Yes.
Drake May.
Yes.
Then Caleb Williams. Then Michael Penix.
Cool. And then Spencer Rattler.
I would put Joe Milton above Spencer Rattler just because of the unknown.
Sounds like the Vikings could be close to being out on JJ McCarthy too, by the way, now that they have Sam Darnold and Dan Jones on the roster. Give me the Panthers plus the points. Falcons need it. Panthers don't. I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, and there could be some scoreboard watching. Like if if Tampa Bay is blowing out New Orleans, they might. I don't know. They'll probably say they're not going to be scoreboard watching, but it feels like they will be.
Washington, the Commander football team, Redskins, taking on the Cowboys in Big D. Dallas plus 4.5, plus 195 on the money line. 44 is the total. Will this be the last game that Mike McCarthy is the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys? It sounds like this was a certainty like 2 weeks into the season, I felt, or at least 5 weeks into the season. But now it's not. So will this be the last game that McCarthy coaches? Because with this number, I this feels like this is a trap number to me. I'm obviously not taking the Cowboys, but this is a trap. Something's fishy here.
What do you mean? What do you mean something's fishy? And you're what you think this is a? I mean, I think
Quinn is going to boat race this Cowboys team. Are you kidding me? He wants to make Jerry understand.
Yeah. I mean, the Dan Quinn. Yeah, that angle certainly. I mean, I'm going to take the Commanders laying the 4.5 here. But Jaden Daniels has taken a ton of shots. Like even in in the overtime, like him running towards the end zone there at the end of overtime there, he's taken a ton of rib shots. I don't know what it is. Just like guys of that frame and that size, he's taken a ton of shots to the chest and rib area. I don't know.
Falcons. I mean, I have no skin in this fight. The Falcons were cheap shotting Jaden Daniels repeatedly in that game. Well, it would be like the kind of some defenses have this. They have like the real psycho that's always showing up to the pile like a second and a half late. Well, they were just anytime Jaden Daniels was getting tackled, it was like there was always a third guy coming in and just planting him. And one of those big hits he took was, I don't want to call it a cheap shot, but we're trying to get shots in on Jaden Daniels, so we'll see. I mean, I'm impressed he's made it the season with basically just a minor injury. That being said, they're going to roll here. This is such an easy position.
Well, we buried the lead, Ryan, because breaking news: Zeke Elliott was released. Maybe it got lost on your timeline, but a number of people tagged me in this. Zeke not being the power back that they had hoped for to change things. So I'll take Washington here. This is kind of an interesting spot. Same thing like the Packers, where they're they're kind of in the mix here for the 6 and 7 seed. And then there's always that chance that if the Rams lose and Tampa Bay wins, Tampa Bay has a shot to get the 3 seed. So yeah, I would imagine Commanders are playing for that 6 seed, but who knows? Who knows how much they care about it? And then the Mike McCarthy, it is tough because he has a decent case to bring him back, right? Before this season, he had 3 12-win seasons. I don't know. I don't know what did the Cowboys do from here? I mean, great discussions for the offseason because you're bringing back, Dakota Rain Prescott. I feel like you got to play him because of how much you've paid him, but I don't know. It feels like they're going to be in the QB market. What do they do there? They're just
it's like what does firing the coach get you? You can't fire the coach this year and get Dan Quinn back from last year. I don't know if you saw that, Sean. Apparently, in private, Jerry is upset that he let he didn't keep Dan Quinn and get rid of Mike McCarthy. But I don't know. To me, I actually would say, what are you getting with a new coach if Dak's going to be your quarterback? There's in a weird way. I mean, obviously, I'd love for McCarthy to stick around another year, but what's the answer to that question? What is a new coach going to bring you? It's still going to be the same owner, same quarterback. So what's changing? Sorry, Cowboys fans. Not really.
Sorry.
Game 7, Houston, Tennessee, another AFC South battle. Houston coming off the long rest. I mean, one of the more embarrassing performances I've ever seen. And imagine this was on Netflix.
You love your Ravens, Ryan.
Come
You're
on.
back in on the Ravens.
I mean, by the way, no one in the house even noticed when I turned off the fireplace and put on Netflix football. But I mean, that was an embarrassment. We need to remember, Sean, and I already put it in the calendar for next year, but holiday home teams, major fade. This Houston team, I don't even know how to handicap this. They haven't needed a game for a while. They're going to be a 4 seed. They don't need this game, but they kind of do. They've looked like ass. They got like completely whipped on Netflix in front of a lot of people. Very embarrassing. And right now, I'd imagine that they will be the least popular play in the first week of the playoff. Everyone's going to look to fade them. Can you imagine the Chargers coming to town, the Steelers coming, whoever it is, I'm taking them. So they don't need it, but they kind of need it. Does that mean we take Tennessee? Pick them.
Well, officially, D'Amico Ryan said he's claiming the starters will play for how long. He says, quote, "We'll see how the game goes." Davis, I mean, is Davis Mills that much of a drop off from CJ Stroud from what we've seen out of CJ Stroud? Daddy long neck himself, this. Davis Mills. I mean, I'm taking the Texans just because I love like all these people rooting for Saquon to break the rushing record, Ryan. I'm rooting for my own record, and that is for the Titans to somehow not cover 15 games against the spread. This is history in the making. No team has lost 14 games against the spread, so now they're going to set the bar. If a team went 2-15 ATS, Ryan, I mean, that is a beautiful work of art. And I've been slowly chipping away at the money we lost on all the Will Levis futures. Now I do need Chigoziem Okonkwo to get that third touchdown. That motherfucker, he got one on their first drive of the season. I'm like, oh, this guy's going to get 3 in this game. He's been stuck on 2 for a long time. I'll take Texans all day here just because of auto fading the Titans has been a great trend. What are you doing? Are you taking your Titans one more time, Ryan?
Well, one of their covers this year was against the Texans.
Yeah, they beat them outright. That's a great point. Revenge.
Is that not? Yeah, but that there's another side to that. They have their number. I want to say that the Texans are the right side, but I again, the thesis, they need it. I think they need to do something here because they look like such ass. Give me the Titans. They screw up a record. They screw up perfection. One more time. Give me the Titans.
Oh, man. This is great. Yeah,
the Texans need it. I got to fade it.
No, they don't.
They kind of do. They don't, but they do.
I mean, yeah, I get what you're saying. They need it, but like they don't, not according to any of the, yeah, they don't need it. My ass meter says they need it. Giants, Eagles, game 8 in the early window. What we got? A third string quarterback against the Philly -2, -145 on the money line. Giants +125. 37.5 is the total. This number would indicate that Jalen Hurts is not starting. This number might also indicate that Kenny Pickett not starting. Sean, who is the starting quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles this week? Yeah, Hurts has been ruled out. I ruled him out. Kenny Pickett DNP today on Wednesday. I think they're going to play Tanner McKee, and I think Tanner McKee is pretty solid quarterback. He looked pretty sharp there in preseason. I'm excited to see what they have in Tanner McKee. Much like Nate Sudfeld, I think it makes sense to play young quarterbacks in games that don't matter for you. So yes, I will be taking the Eagles laying the 2. But it will be funny when the Giants win this game and then end up picking 9th. Well, Ryan, we were getting a ton of questions in the chat. Is Drew Lock the quarterback of the future? Are you okay with Shedeur Sanders? I feel like you need to start and walk us through where you're at with your head going into this game and where you're at with the Giants quarterback situation moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, I can say it a million times.
Some of these are real questions.
Yeah, I can say it a million times. One, Drew Lock, ass. had a great game. Drew Lock, not good. I don't really want him to be I guess in a world where they don't fire Dable, if he shows back up as a low-cost backup, sure. But he played well. He'll get a contract. Drew Lock will not be on the Giants next year. So that's first thing. Second thing, I have been saying this for a while, although my opinion of Shedeur has gone up over this college season. I do not think he is a top-tier quarterback prospect. I think that he has a dad with some of the greatest athletic genes in the history of the world. And I think he's still getting better. So do I think Shedeur could ascend to being a great quarterback in the NFL? Maybe really good. I do think he lacks some of the arm traits that you'd like, but he's pretty good at a lot of the categories. Cam Ward, I think if you watch him play in college, he's probably a better quarterback right now. He also lacks some elite abilities, and punk ass bitch opted out. I mean, again, this fake, I'm going to play through it and then I'm not going to play. So yeah, I don't think Cam Ward and Shedeur will be. I've been saying this for a while. I don't know if they're both going to be like 1-2 or 1-3. We'll see, I guess, but they don't strike me as the same type of guys as we saw last year get drafted. That's my take on the quarterback class. That's my take. If the Giants drafted Shedeur or Cam Ward, I'd be fine. I think both dudes have potential to be good, for sure. But you're crazy if you think they're on the same level as some of the they're not on the same prospect level as Jaden Daniels or Caleb Williams or Drake May. They're just not. And so it's kind of a bummer because the draft class it seems to be littered more with elite pass rushers and defensive backs. So yeah, I would also lay the points with the Eagles.
Really? See, well, now this is twice. You picked against the Giants last week, Ryan, and they won outright as an 8-point dog. So do you want them to win the game?
Will I be belly aching if they win the game like all these fucking NBA fans who root for an NFL team on a Sunday? No. I can do this one too again. The season in the NFL is 17 games. And so not until the 17 games are played is the draft order figured out. So all of this draft order tracking, fine. Is it annoying that a team gets motivated randomly for a game that doesn't have a ton of meaning in this season? Yes, very frustrating. Am I going to be like, this is the worst thing ever? My team should have lost all their games this year. I mean, no, because then you're Raheem Palmer and you sound like a fucking buffoon. That's where you end up. And so, yeah, would it be fun if the Giants had the first pick? Sure. Would it be fun to have it in this class? No. And I would have had to find my way talking about how there's these elite I can't do that. And so I don't really give a shit about the draft right now. When the season's over, we can talk about the draft. When I had this conversation with Terrell on the recap show, shout out to him for coming by and having some therapy. But hearing his young person perspective helped me realize that I'm right. Play to win the game. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit. If you're going to get a bunch of grown men to go out there and win a football game, cool. You won a football game. It's so funny how these people don't understand that these guys they don't give a fuck about next year. They don't give a fuck about the draft. They don't give a fuck about the next guy that's going to get drafted. And yet we continually hear this. So yeah, I'm still laying the points with the Eagles because I'm completely out on this Giants team. Also, Drew Lock coming off his career next contract getting game. Come on.
Drew Lock, yeah, and there's still a lot of Eagles pretty deep. I like some of the you can only bench so many guys, and I think Tanner McKee, Johnny Wilson, Will Shipley getting some run. I think this is going to be a fun game. Eagles laying 2 at home. Let's go Birds. Lock it up. Hey, if you haven't already signed up with Underdog Fantasy, what are you waiting for? Use that promo code SGPN, get you 100 or 50% deposit match up to $1,000. Ryan, what's a Underdog Fantasy play you like here for this NFL weekend?
Baker.
Baker. What are we playing with Baker?
You want touchdowns, yards?
Well, his higher 1.5 touchdowns is 0.83x. That's kind of not super fun. 249.5. Do we just take the higher passing yards?
Yes. Or Mike Evans. If we want to, we can pivot to Mike Evans.
What is
the idea of Mike Evans going off against a team that has just throttled him?
Yeah, I mean, do we just not bet Mike Evans higher a half touchdown?
Done.
Yeah. All right. That's pretty easy. What are we pairing that with? What else?
Jordan Love interception.
Wow. You didn't even think on that one, huh?
No.
Even in a game where pretty big favorites. All right. I like your pettiness with Jordan Love. See if we have the INT price up. Oh yeah, we do. So very simple. Mike Evans higher a half rushing and receiving touchdown. Jordan Love higher a half interception. $100 entry returns you $300 over at underdogfantasy.com. Promo code SGPN. All right, Kramer.
No one wants to play the Bucs heading into the postseason. All right, 5 games in the late window. First up, we got and they're all at 125 here on the West Coast. And by the way, remember it's 2025, y'all. Miami Jets. Ooh, this one's spicy. We got a little bit to talk about here. Dolphins -1, -118 on the money line. Jets -102. 39 is the total. Is Tyrod gonna play this week?
Yep.
Okay. Did we
or
get
no,
any?
I don't think. Oh, you mean for the Jets? I'm sorry. I thought Tyler Huntley, I think, is going to play for the Dolphins.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, Tua is opted out for the season, or something. He's injured or something.
Seems like he's done.
But Aaron Rodgers, is he also done for the season? Our hero. I know it's not official, but it does, and it does. The coach, I'm blanking on interim coach's name. He did say that Aaron Rodgers would be the starter. Ulbrich. But I was watching the game without a lot of audio on Sunday, and so it wasn't exactly clear to me, and the post-game reporting hasn't really been clear. They just cut to the game, and Aaron Rodgers was no longer in the game. And I was told this was a 500 touchdown celebration. Devontae Adams was going to catch the bouquet, and then he was going to be the next guy to get married or whatever the lore is. What you have more information, Sean? Please fill me in.
Well, yeah, Aaron Rodgers checked himself out of the game and told Tyrod, "You should go in."
Is that confirmed?
Yeah, that's what he said. He goes, I went to the sideline and said, yeah, time for Tyrod right now. He basically told Tyrod to go in.
What the fuck?
Yeah, he also announced he's not doing any darkness retreats this offseason. So clearly he's got his mind locked in for this game. This is crazy because the Dolphins need this game to get into the playoffs. And it's not like all they need to happen is for the Broncos to lose, which they are playing the Chiefs. Now, granted, they aren't playing a lot of their starters, but the Broncos losing and then the Dolphins winning, and they're in the playoffs. It's crazy considering how jacked up their season has been and how weird and meaningless this game seems. But they got a real chance to get in. I thought Huntley, had some dog in him, got the rushing touchdown. Of course, Jets lead the league in most rushing touchdowns allowed to the quarterback. Huntley 2 rushing touchdowns whenever they price that out. That's going to be interesting. But of course, this does, fit that trend of a team that needs it versus a team that doesn't. But man, how can you feel okay taking the Jets in any scenario right now? That just the vibes are just cataclysmically low. They're not a close your eyes special, but they feel like they should be. I will happily take Miami laying the point here. What are you doing, Kramer?
If Tyrod plays, the Jets are winning. I don't know. Have you read some of the quotes from players about Tyrod when Tyrod came in the game? I think they were losing this game by a lot. And there is positive being said about the quarterback change by key skill position players. So I think I'll go against you here. I think if Tyrod plays, the Jets are going to be motivated. I think
What makes you think Tyrod's going to play?
Team's completely out on Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers took himself out of the game. Like, there's a million things going on here that lead me to believe that there's a pretty good chance that Tyrod could see time or a lot of time or play the entire game. Again, I know they're saying they're playing Aaron Rodgers. I know that, but I don't want to be misquoted, but I'm going to assume it was Garrett Wilson because it probably wasn't Devontae Adams. But basically said that Tyrod had a better command of the huddle. You don't say that about your starting quarterback, Sean.
Yeah, but also now it seems like he's definitely done with the Jets. He acknowledged that this could be his last game. I just don't see him checking himself out in what could be his last NFL game.
Give me the Jets. Game number 2.
Enjoy the Jets.
I mean, and like so Miami holds the tiebreakers over the Bengals. Is that what it is?
Yes.
Interesting. I missed that. Denver hosts the Chiefs. Chiefs off the long rest, and they are going to rest their starters. And I said, I'm kind of okay with them resting their starters because they've done it and come out the other side okay. Broncos laying a huge 10 minus 525 on the money line, plus 410 for the Chiefs. 39 is the total. The Chiefs don't need it. The Broncos do need it. And it's 10 points in division where we get Carson Wentz back in the NFL, baby. This is the most obvious pick on the board. Give me the Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean,
come on.
I love the Broncos team. But 10 points is crazy, right? And Chiefs have been they've been off since Wednesday. So they the previous Wednesday, and they knew they had it locked up, so they were going to have plenty of time to install an offense. I mean, Bo Nix and Carson Wentz. Is it really that different of a quarterback right now? I understand. Trust me, I know all of Carson Wentz's flaws. It's the turnovers. It's holding on to the ball too long. Some of stuff that a rookie quarterback like Bo Nix might be doing. I don't know. 10 points seems crazy. I understand why the Broncos would be favored in this spot, but 10 points is a ton, especially in the division game. People forget the guys on the Chiefs are playing hard. Carson Wentz would love another chance to start in the NFL. And a lot of these guys, the same kind of thing. And, it's a lot of pressure for a guy like Bo Nix and the Broncos at home against a good head coach here with nothing to lose. Probably wants to, mess around, try out some new plays. So yeah, 10 points is way too much. And the Broncos are probably going to play super conservative. So they're not going to run up the score. It'll be a conservative game plan. Yeah, they might win, but 10 points is a ton. So yeah, I love the Chiefs catching double digits.
Carson Wentz is a free agent after the season.
Yeah, you don't think that guy wants to stay in the NFL?
The Giants need a bridge quarterback. Could be interested.
Oh, that would be hilarious. Where's that? Is it that bridge to nowhere? Where's that bridge going, Ryan?
Yeah, it's the bridge to nowhere with all the pork fat or whatever it was. Japan, for the podcast audience who didn't just see Sean flash Japan on the screen, it is 1:34 local time here on the East Coast. It is time for a dab. So if you want to join in, make sure you're not operating any sort of heavy machinery. Game number 3 in the late window, 1:25 in the late on the West Coast. Chargers, Raiders. There's been some bad blood in games played by these teams late in the season before. Chargers laying 5 here, minus 230 on the money line, plus 190 for the Raiders. 41 is the total. I don't know if you can fade the Raiders in games where they need nothing and the other team needs to win. I don't know if you can fade this team, but it is Harbaugh. versus Antonio Pierce. It is Herbert versus who doesn't really matter, a not good quarterback. But man, that Raiders team was fired the fuck up last week. But the Saints suck. And so a lot of narrative here. How much do the Chargers need this game, Sean?
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to that 6 versus 5, which they might they would probably know their actually they would know their fates at least. Some
Pittsburgh wins. Those games are done.
So they have a chance of becoming the 5 seed if the Steelers lose on Saturday. But then, they were asking Harbaugh and he was being real coy and he's like, we play to win, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, so if the Steelers win and you're locked in the 6th seed, you're going to play the starters? And he goes, well, I didn't say that. So that to me was him trying to kind of hedge a little bit and maybe would see some time here. You got to take the Raiders getting the 5 points here. Chargers will, I guess they'll kind of be motivated to get the 5. But even then, even if the Steelers lose, and Ryan, this is a good segment for our VSiN show where we do our custom parlays, because there certainly is some narrative parlays that you could come up with, right? Where, maybe you take the Steelers to lose the Steelers to win and then Raiders to win because the Chargers would be less motivated in that spot. So there's some interesting stuff going on, but I think even now, the Raiders are great at winning pointless games when the season is over, and certainly 5 points, even if the Chargers are playing, them hanging around in a 21-17 game makes a ton of sense.
All right, so if the Steelers win, then they're locked into 6, correct? So why wouldn't we
No, the Steelers. Well,
the Chargers are locked into 6 if the Steelers win,
assuming the Ravens win as well. Yeah.
If the Ravens lose, they're 5, right? And then Pittsburgh wins the division. I think either way, the Chargers are locked in, correct?
Yes.
Because John beat Jim also.
Yep.
So don't we why wouldn't, instead of just playing Raiders money line, why wouldn't we go Raiders money line with Steelers money line?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying.
I mean, you can certainly do a lot with it, but specifically in this instance, it seems like the money line will change so much. Yeah. There's a good chance that this is a Raiders being favored by the time we're talking about it, or by the time it's kicking off. Because even if you think about the money line movement, you don't think so?
I don't know. I think even if you're putting Easton Stick there, I don't know if they're moving it quite 5, but yeah, I mean, it's possible. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if Harbaugh does that thing where he plays Herbert for a couple series and then Easton Stick comes in. Those are the situations where it gets tough for the odds makers. I guess I would be surprised if they announce that Herbert is not playing at all, which that would be a point where they would justify making the Raiders favorites. Either way, I think it's good to lock up the Raiders getting 5 here.
Yeah, agreed. This might be the dog. I think this might be the dog this week. Got a nice set of dogs in consideration. Way too many of them on my card for my liking. Game number 4, Seattle, the Seahawks taking on the Rams. Seahawks, again, long rest. Somehow they keep on just beating bad teams. If there's one team, Sean, I cannot wait to fade next year, even though we're going to be all excited about the coach. All they've done is beat bad teams, and they've not even looked good doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I was right about their under win total. I know I wasn't right because they went over it, but man, this Seattle team all the reasons I took to fade them have come to fruition. But I still don't know how they've gotten, and they've barely gotten over. But yeah, Seattle's,
they have nothing to play for, and the Rams also have nothing to play for.
Nothing to play for. And now Seattle obviously maybe has some pride. But yeah, nothing on the docket here to play for. There was this spread was a crazy swing because it was 3 and then it's all the way up to 6.5.
Have you gotten into the Geno bonus potentially sit him down talk?
So this is what do you mean potentially sit him down?
Are they playing him?
Geno Smith?
Yeah.
Oh, I would assume they would. If he needs 186 passing yards, he gets 2 million, and then he's right at if he has a 69.75 completion percentage for the season, he gets $2 million, which that's a hilarious amount of pressure. And also, like, you can clearly game it, right? Like, especially in a meaningless game, aren't you playing a little closer to the vest? Like, if you drop back to pass and you get $2 million for completion, are you really taking those deep shots? I think you're playing conservative. And then on the other side, you want to talk about a guy who might want another shot in the league, Jimmy G. And some of these Rams receivers, and Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua aren't going to start, but they have some interesting guys behind them, like Jordan Whittington, and stuff like that. So I think 6.5 is a lot. I'll happily take the Rams here, getting 6.5.
What's the total bonus he can earn?
Well, he also had there was also $2 million to make playoffs, but they've been eliminated. So he has $4 million, basically $2 million for 186 passing yards and $2 million for 69.75% completion percentage, which he's like right on that pace right now. So I think you would just need to like not dip below like 60. I don't know what the number is, but he
also gets 2 million if they win their 10th game. So there's actually 6 million.
Okay.
6 million on the line here. Although shout out to the boots on the ground up in the Pacific Northwest. I did get 2 birdies whispering in my ear saying that some of the local outlets are like basically like speculating that maybe we see Howell because of these bonuses, which no. I'm going to call bullshit too, because you don't want to do that to your locker room. You're a new coach.
You won't sign free agents if you do shit like that. And like, that'll get you burned with agencies. You'll lose the locker room. Also, like, the coaches don't give a shit. It's not their money. If anything, they want Geno to get the bonuses to make it like, hey, this is a good place to play. They look out for you, that kind of stuff. So I think they will. I mean, I don't know if it's worth betting prop wise, but obviously he's going to get over his 186 passing yards. I would be very confident in.
I'm laying it.
Oh, you're laying it with Seattle?
I think so. Yeah, I think McVay in preseason games tends to not give a shit.
It's true. It is 6.5 though.
It's true. Good luck with Jimmy G.
Thank you.
Niners, Cardinals, last of the late games. 125 kick on the West Coast. Niners coming off a short Monday night, so even short rest. Kneecap trend intact here, Sean. Arizona lane 4.5. Not really sure why. Minus 220 on the money line. Niners plus 190. 43 is the total. Tough season for the Niners. Turns out that the hangover is real, and it does not get cured by shitty San Francisco water. So where do we go from here, San Francisco? But I'd say the kneecap trend brings me to Arizona.
Didn't come through last week. No, because Bears covered that 3.5. Even though they didn't score a touchdown, they did cover because they were the team that last played the Lions.
Part of me just thinks, Kyler in a meaningless game here. This feels like the peak. Like we're gonna get a little like, maybe next year.
Ryan, I got an angle for you. It's a revenge angle. I mean, how can you not take Josh Dobbs, aka the Pastronaut, coming back to Arizona? If there's one dude that's going to lay it on the line for a meaningless game, it's Josh Dobbs. Like this is what this guy does. He's starting for the 49ers. There's plenty of reasons why you wouldn't take the 49ers, the mojo, the energy. It's all horrible. but the Cardinals shouldn't be favored by 4.5 against anyone. And Josh Dobbs is going to be up for this game. Give me the 49ers catching the 4.5 points. I think he's going to be running all over the place. Definitely going to be taking him as a rushing touchdown. And Trey McBride already got his touchdown, which we had discussed that the week after everyone bet him was the week he was going to get the rushing touchdown. So give me Josh Dobbs.
Maybe. I don't know. I think maybe we've already seen the Josh Dobbs experience. It came and went. It was like one of those stars that we see for a couple days and then goes away. I want to be optimistic.
You're just in on your Cardinals. It's all right.
Is that what it is? Maybe I'm more out. Here's my take though. If you're gonna say, normally the backup quarterback bump works because there's something wrong with the starter that the team gets excited about the backup. That's not the case here.
Yeah. So, no, but I think playing Josh Dobbs in a meaningless game, he's a tough guy. In the same way that Jeremy Lin was a tough guard in a regular season NBA game, where you're like, whoa, look at those handles. How does this guy do it? That's what Josh Dobbs is. The guy he's the guy given 110% at the YMCA. Then these games, some of these games play like that in week 18. No one wants to play Josh Dobbs in week 18. James Conner is also out.
That's true. That's not good.
That's huge.
I'm faded. This Niners team full of quit. That was the Super Bowl last week, Sean. That's what you would say. That was their Super Bowl. They went for it. They didn't get it. Now all they're left with is the pastronaut. Lay it with Kyler. Meaningless game. Get you over your total in the contest, Sean.
No, I hope he does. But
last up, game of the century, some are calling it. Minnesota, Detroit. I did try to scramble and verify this in the time we've been talking, Sean, but I do not think we've had another NFL game or a non-playoff game that included 28 wins. So Detroit lays 3 in this game coming off. I don't want to call it an emotional win because every win is emotional for Detroit, it seems. Men. But, man, it's another emotional win for Dan Campbell. Minus 150 on the money line. Vikings plus 130. 56 is the total. It's wild to think that the Vikings could win the division. It's wild to think the Vikings could end up with the 1 seed. I mean, I in some respects, Sam Darnold probably did deserve a little bit more shine in the MVP conversation. He never really had any of it this season, which feels a little unfair. Because he has been great. I did post a graphic recently, courtesy of Aaron Schatz. He's also having an elite year when it comes to defensive pass interference yards. Part of what's fueling that offense, which surfaced the fact that Tom Brady in one of his Tampa years had 23 DPIs. Insane. But all of that being said, you look at the way they're getting it done. It's a great offensive scheme with great offensive playmakers all over the field. And the quiet piece, I think, of this offense that we still aren't really talking about, Addison's a number 1 who's playing a number 2 across from the best receiver in the NFL. And that's what makes him so difficult. And that's what makes him terrifying in this matchup because they should be able to cook that secondary. And to me, this is going to come down to very, very simply, how much does Brian Flores affect Jared Goff? Because if they can't keep pace in a shootout here, I might be forced to take the Vikings, Sean. I have a lot of money invested in this.
Oh yeah.
If the Lions win this game,
the Lions not winning the division at 14-3 would be pretty hilarious.
So basically it's a 5-figure swing for me. So I'm trying to figure out what I even do with this. Like I'm not much of a gardener. I'm not really looking to hedge, but I don't need to. I need to put 0 pennies down on this game to have a sweat. Because I'm already sweaty. I'm already annoyed. This bet has gone all the way to the end.
Hit us up in the DMs, and I said, if you want to, I mean, it's not hedging if you're building a middle here by taking Minnesota plus 3.5. That's a pretty juicy middle, if you ask me.
There's 3.5s out there.
Oh, you might have to buy that half point. I mean, I was seeing +3. I was seeing +3, +100 at some places for Minnesota. So, even if you're getting 3.5 -125, that could be a pretty interesting middle for you.
I actually think it's gone further since you've been looking. It's down to 2.5. And like it's 3 or 2.5 out there. So,
okay.
Yeah, like DK has moved to -2.5, -120 for the Lions.
I mean, Goff had a near perfect game the last time they played the Vikings. I mean, Detroit's going to be rocking. They're going to be so up for this game. But how do you the Vikings getting points? And the Vikings are just one of these teams that people keep doubting, and they keep showing up in these spots. And I think maybe there is a little bit of a letdown spot after avenging the 49ers, a game that they didn't need, that Dan Campbell was like, we play to win the game, brother. It's hard not to do like a
Hulk Hogan.
Hulk Hogan. Who was the snap into a Slim Jim guy?
Oh shit, we're hard. Well, we're not wrestling guys. Macho Man.
Oh, Macho Man Dan Campbell. When you come down to the Ford Arena, we're gonna be ready for you, Vikings. I think you got to take the Vikings in the 3. I think you're getting 3 points here with a team that has interdivision revenge, and the situation spot of the Lions. You can't empty the tank every week. As good as this Lions team is, and you kind of feel silly at times fading them. I would look towards the Bills game. Part of the reason they maybe lost for the Bills was they were up so much for that Packers game, the game before. And they were clearly up so much for that Monday night game, and it wasn't an easy cruise game for them. They were down at halftime. They had to battle back. They got the win. They got the cover. It was a nice win for them. I think Vikings in the 3. Now, maybe they don't win outright, but I'm definitely taking the Vikings in the 3 points.
Dan Campbell owns Kevin O'Connell. Yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that at all, Sean. I think that they're going to load up, play a physical brand of football. 2 tight ends. Certainly Sean back like multiple tight end sets will be in play.
No more Brock Wright first touchdowns.
Fullbacks will be in play. I think that's how you attack the Brian Flores defense. And I think, like you mentioned, that the last time Goff was flawless against that blitz and that scheme. And so once people figure out Flores, they figure him out. And I think in this spot, Detroit rolls. Detroit wins the division. There's no way this is a letdown spot. That's a reckless take by you. This is for all the marbles, Sean. This is what they've been playing for, to get that 1 seed.
No, I guess not a letdown spot, but it's like every week can't be the biggest week of your season. I think it might add up at some point. And I think the Vikings have I don't know, the Vikings are playing with house money here too.
Kind of. I mean, but I agree with that statement, but I also think that this is like Dan Campbell and this Lions team is doing exactly what they had planned to do. And the idea that Dan Campbell wouldn't have coached the idea that this is going to be an 18-week mission, week 1 to week 18, this is what we're doing. Man, what a privilege to have it come down to this moment, this game right here, where it's obvious this is for everything. You rest next week, like he said before. Rest when we're not playing. Well, you don't play next week if you win this game. So nice reward.
Could be a interesting week on Jared Goff Sucks Island, Ryan. Just saying, could be an interesting week.
It's deserted. What are you talking about? There's naked humans taking shits on the sidewalk.
It's the ultimate buy low opportunity. The phone will be ringing on Jared Goff.
Do you like human urine smell? Perfect.
Hey, of course, our Lock, Dog, and Tease brought to you by Rhythm. Go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. Get your 7-day free trial. Love Rhythm for NFL props, NFL picks, college basketball, NBA. Rhythm does it all. Very fun. You can build your own model or just trust their models to do the heavy lifting. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. Get your 7-day free trial. If you try it and you don't like it, cancel. You got 7 days. Perfect week to try out Rhythm. I think you're going to enjoy it. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. Kramer, what do you got?
Meaningless week 18 slate. 1 hour 54 minutes in the bag. Let's see.
Meaningless to all these gambling opportunities. We're not resting our starters. We're not phoning it in.
We are not resting our starters. All right, lock number 1. Give me the Bucks -13.
Whoa,
surprising.
Didn't see it coming.
Lock number 2. You know, I'm very let's just do it. Detroit -3. I'm going to double down. I'm already heavily invested. Dog, I told you throughout the show there were 2 I thought we could circle. Really 3. Bears, Chiefs, Raiders. But Raiders is the most obvious play in the history of the planet. +190. Antonio Pierce gets another win on the way out because the Chargers don't need it. Hopefully the Steelers win that Saturday game. Tease. Speaking of those Steelers, +7.5. What great value going through all those key numbers. Let's take the Bucks. Oh, do I want to double dip? Yeah, you know what? Bucks down to 7. And give me Geno down to 0.5 and the Fighting Seahawks -0.5 for Seattle.
Teasing the Seahawks down. All righty. Yep. Okay, for me, for my let's see here. It's always interesting. Week 18. What is the lock? You know what? Let's make history. Give me the Houston Texans as a pick 'em. And then give me the Eagles laying the 2. Tanner McKee gets it done. And that's the ultimate win-win. Either the Eagles win or the Giants win. And all their whining millennial fans, why did we beat the Eagles? Why didn't we lose?
Well, you know what it's going to do, Sean? It's going to draw out all the people that write letters to retire from being a fan.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm no longer a fan. Here's my 3 paragraphs on Notepad, you fucking losers.
And give me the Carolina Panthers. 3-1. I mean, Michael against Michael Penix, who, again, I'm not as out on Penix as you are, Ryan. But the fact that you can get 3-1 on the Carolina Panthers right now, that's a crazy value. So, yeah, give me the Panthers to get it done here for my tease. Minnesota up to 9. The Detroit defense is just really rough. 9 points is a ton. Next up in the tease, Tampa Bay down to 7, co-signing that. And yeah, give me the Steelers up to 7.5 as well. So for our last Circa Million, and if you've been following along, Circa Million, pretty solid year, Ryan. 45, 38, and 2, 54% ATS. So I know tout services that charge thousands of dollars to get the same percentage there for our Circa Million. So you got Tampa Bay and Detroit, Houston, Eagles. What's our last consensus play? I think Washington's interesting. Carolina.
How do we have all favorites on week 18?
No, Houston's a pick.
Oh, whatever. Basically,
well, because you picked 2 favorites for your locks.
Yeah, those were my locks. I would say we go with one of the bigger divisional dogs, like Kansas City, Carolina, Chicago.
Yeah, Kansas City, Carolina, or Chicago. All 3 of those are interesting to me. And that could be an interesting round robin money line parlay as well. Chaos.
I mean, to me, the Chiefs is the one.
All right. Going against my Broncos, KC +10. Carson Wentz gets it done. So, yeah, that'll do it. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. As always, going to try and get out a late night prop show tomorrow night. YouTube.com/sportsgamingpodcast. Smash that subscribe button. Appreciate everyone leaving a nice 5 stars over on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, write a review. Always appreciate that. Was a great year in Sports Gambling Podcast, Sports Gambling Podcast Network, killing it download-wise. So appreciate everyone supporting us, telling a friend, taking down corporate gambling, and Happy New Year. And, of course,
thank you for participating in the Sports Gambling Podcast.
For the Sports Gambling Podcast, I'm Sean, stacking the money green. He's Ryan.
Well, that's good, Sean. Happy New Year.
Kramer, let it ride.